2025 70.3 Pennsylvania or Happy Valley, whatever you would like to call it. This one's taking place on June 15th. Rolling through here, this is typically what you're going to get on race day. Rolling hills out here. Very difficult course. The run, notoriously challenging, one of the most difficult 73s on the eastern seaboard out here. But let's dive into some of the things you need to know for race day. Before we do that, make sure you like, subscribe, share all that fun, awesome stuff. If you need any coaching assistance, tips, please reach out to me. Contact info is down below. Also, if you need a specific race plan for this race for you, also contact info is down below. Let's talk about average air temperature. The high is 76 and the low 56. Of course, this is a rolling range. It can be totally different on race day. This is typically what you're going to get. I would expect it to be a little bit hotter, a little bit muggier. Humidity always a factor here. Average water temperature about 76 degrees out here. You can see that this is the temperature what we have in the past over here. 23. The water temperature was 76. Last year was 77. High temperatures for 22 was 87, then 74, and then 76. So, all accounts, we're due for a hot one out here. Low temperatures in 22 were 67, and then 2 years ago, 56. Last year, again, 56 again. But I would expect it to be a hot one this year, a muggy one, a humid one this year. That's kind of where I'm thinking that it's going to happen out here. All right, so this is our swim course. This is the swim that's on their map. This is the swim that's on the map, the downloadable one. So all pretty similar things out here. Again, this is a tricky triangle course with athletes overdoing it. We are going to start off going this direction and then around. Most athletes around the tricky triangle will overdo it and then realize they've overdone it at the second turn right here, and that's usually two weights just to squish down triangle out here, and so you don't get the full effect, and you kind of get lulled into just overdoing it until you get out here. When we start out over here, things are going to be flying off fast and heavy out here. When you get to about this point, you should be in your swim group or looking to get attached to that swim group. If you're not in a swim group or don't have any chance of attaching yourself to a group out here, you're swimming your pace, and you're just falling into your rhythm out here. On the second straight of our tricky triangle out here, again, the trick is going to be doing your pace. A lot of athletes are going to get riled up. They're going to be around a bunch of other people, and most times when that happens, you just kind of fall into just going too hard. You're racing the person next to you, racing that person, racing that person. I would try to find two or three people, sit behind them, and let them drive it around the tricky triangle. More often than not, if you find that you are leading a pack, you're probably overdoing it, but you don't realize it in the moment. On the way back in, everyone kind of gets it right at a certain point out here, and most athletes kind of back things off a little bit, and they start sighting appropriately, taking appropriate breath patterns for them. Another huge area or potential problem for athletes on this course is the sighting. Sighting, not that there's no sight lines to do out here, but a lot of athletes just sight to sight to sight to sight, and they find that they are just in a downward spiral of sighting out here, and it can definitely cut down on your swim time and just have it balloon up. So make sure you are going on your sight patterns that you are training with and you are practicing with out there on race day. Also, if you are trailing behind a group of individuals, don't feel like you have to keep sighting excessively because you're going to be tracking them. Hopefully the people in the front are sighting for you. Another added benefit of drafting. That's our swim. Believe it or not, it's pretty straightforward. Don't overdo it. And now we're going to go on to the bike, which is on everybody's mind out here. And this is for good reason. They've got about 3,200 feet of elevation gain. Our bike's got about 3,600 feet, maybe a little bit less, 35-ish. And this is going to be divided up into a couple of areas. Area number one, this section out here. Area number two, obviously. And then area number three to our finish line thereafter. So how can you attack this race, and what should we be doing for success? So let's go to their map that they've provided so graciously out here. Again, this is a point-to-point race. This is our transition right here, T1, excuse me, located right here, right where you swim. T2, located on campus right here, which means in the days leading up to this, you're going to have to plan a little bit more. You're going to have to appropriately time manage in the days leading up to it because you're going to have to do two back drop-offs. You're going to have to do a bike check-in, run, drop-off, all that fun stuff. So just plan appropriately on the days leading up to it. you can't lose the race on in the days leading up to it, but you can definitely have a huge impact or ding to your energy levels or energy stores because you're walking around a ton in the days leading up to this. So back to our map over here. First aid station is located right here, right around mile 13, 14. Our second one is located right at the 30-mile marker. Fourth one, or third one, excuse me, one, two, three. Third one is located right before the 45-mile marker, and that is it for this race. So you do have three fueling opportunities. In my mind, all three are must-hit stations. If you do miss it, it changes the dynamics of your race big time for sure. So I would make sure that you do hit these aid stations appropriately. And even if you're not getting anything to fuel with, you're getting stuff to cool off with, especially if it's projected to be a hot, hot day. This is our this is our weather patterns that are typical out here on race day. You can see that as we start out over here, it starts off from a northwest wind and it shifts to a northeast wind, which will actually help you tailwind wise. Again, not always what happens out here. And again, I would highly, highly expect this to be different. If it is a headwind, again, this is going to shift what happens on race day, but this is going to be what we're simulating right now. And if it's different, it just do the opposite of what we're about to tell you. So coming out of our transition area, I want you to watch the cyclist in the bottom right-hand corner out here. We do have a little out and back that we do need to take care of, and that's going to be great on the way coming back. And then when we hit our transition again, we're going to loop back around. We're going to be greeted by a nice crosswind, cross tailwind, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Now, when we slowly make that turn out here, we're at about 13, 14 miles into our race and things change from here on out. This is where we're starting our climbs. We're watching the blue line. I'll take speed away so it's less busy out here. But as we turn out here, we are greeted with a nice tailwind, and that's going to be great for you as we start to make this climb. It's going to be a lot easier. You'll still be able to be in the arrow position for a good portion up until this point out here, and you will not run the risk of overdoing it if you are kind of in your ranges. What athletes will experience up until this point is the urge to go faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. You're going to be greeted with that tailwind. You're going to have a slight pitch in the road up here, so it's very, very common for athletes to just really just put extra pressure into those pedals and just overdo it right here. Keep in mind you have a good little elevation gain leading up after this. Then we'll talk about exactly how much after we get past the wind here in a second. But we are going to progress up here and we're going to have a nice tailwind to summit and finish out here. When we do make our turn, it's a little bit of a crosswind. But again, wind is usually not a major factor at this point any longer. You are going to experience it a little bit more, but I mean, for the most part, you're going to be limited by you at this point in time. After we make our another right-hand turn out here, we're going to climb up to our second peak, they call it. We'll identify that in a second. And this is another drastic headwind. This is typically a headwind the entire way. I would expect it to be very challenging. This is another key section of our race. It's another reason why you shouldn't overdo the first couple of miles, the first 14, 15 miles. This section of road, it is going to kick up at the very end out here, and we'll tell you exactly what it is. We are still having that headwind if you are still following along in the bottom right section. And then when the terrain slowly starts to go down, things change slightly as we get closer to town. We're going to be zigging and we're going to be zagging. And again, that wind is not going to be a huge factor at this point anymore. It's going to be what you did leading up to this. So this is our course right here. These are the mile markers that we're talking about. And again, remember 3,500 feet of elevation gain. If we highlight this stretch of road right here, this 26.5 mile stretch, of our 3,500 feet, we have 2,300 feet of those 3,500. So a huge chunk over here. We have some extra stuff to get afterwards, and that can be accounted for in a couple of different places here. Just like over here, we have 728 feet of our elevation gain happening right here, and that's section number 3 if you're paying attention, and I'll talk about why that's important in a second. Going back to our power here, I'll bring speed back slightly over here so you can see, have a general sense of what is going to happen on race day. You can see here, hopefully pretty easily, and I'll bring back my tool here. You can see that your power is going to steadily kind of decrease a little bit, and then it's going to steadily increase out here. But the key here is to have that steady decrease be appropriate for you. What athletes usually do is the opposite, and they increase it out here, and then they try to keep it level all the way up this section here. And then they find that when they get to this point here, it's, they've overdone it. It's like, wow, I am totally cooked. And in this section, you know, they're riding that line of, am I going too hard? I'm just going to go a little harder for a little bit longer. And then they're met by this hill here. And then they find that the wheels come off big time. So what I would recommend to you is just be very, very careful these first 13 to 15 miles leading leading into the race. Then the reason why is because your power increases up here. Hopefully you have that tailwind or tail crosswind for much of this. But if you don't, it is what it is. It is what it is. Looking at our elevation gains throughout this section over here, you could see that the first couple of miles out here, just like I said, are not super crazy. You're not going to have excessive elevation pitches out here, which will be good and bad. If you're really, really overdoing it, you might not realize it. You're locked in that aero position, and that's another problem leading into this race for the first 20 or so miles. You are going to have opportunities in places where it will kind of force you out of that aero position, but a lot of athletes do lock themselves into this aero position, believe it or not. Even with 3,500 feet of elevation, they lock themselves into this position up for the first 20 miles. Can have huge problems later on. Most athletes get out of it, but I will caution you the first 20 miles can really, really bring your race time down or really slow you down is what I'm trying to say. After we get past this point, it does pitch up a little bit. You're going to have more 2 to 3% pitches in there, degrees, and that doesn't really change. And when you do kick up over here, you're going to have some more 3%ers in there. But again, it's not going to be for a long period of time, those 3%ers. They're just going to pitch up and then go back down. And it's a steady 2-ish% grade for the most part until mile 24 or 25. You're going to be greeted with a slight downhill, and that's going to be really, really great. Again, I wouldn't really overdo that. I would take this as an opportunity to get back up to speed, but I would not take this as an opportunity to see how fast you can go here. This mile marker is 24 and let's call it 25, and you're going to end out here at 26. It's only a mile long, so it will come very, very quickly. Use this as an opportunity to regain your strength, refuel, refocus, all that good stuff. Afterwards, we are going to be hit with a second little boom impact right through here. If we switch back to our power profile right here, you can see that our pace, or not our pace, our power is going to be very, very high through this section here, and that is on purpose. You're just going to have to do it. If we look at our pitches out here, our elevation gains, this is going to be one of the more extreme portions of the course for the first 30 miles in here. You can see my cursor's at 4% right here. There are going to be places where it is a little bit more aggressive, 6.5-ish%. If we look at the max area for our 7.8%, that's going to come a little bit later, but you are going to experience some similar things, at least for a little bit. This could be a good to bad thing. You can use this as a point to wake the legs up, or this can be a point where you really get crushed by your legs. And that is the end of section number 1. Section number 2, if we bring things back, we're going to use this section here, section number 2. This is an opportunity for you to kind of get back to the good out here. We're still climbing, and during this section here, if we highlight it here, we only have 370 feet of gain in a 7.5 mile stretch. Average gradient is 0.5, max gradient 3.7, so there is going to be some areas where you are going up big time for sure, but again, that's going to come later on in this hill over here at the back end of this section. So this is an area where you can slowly start to get things back the way you want it to. Most athletes, when they get to this section, they say, oh my goodness, what just happened in that first little bit here? I really overdid it the first 28 miles. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to recover. If you are pacing correctly for the first 30 miles, this is a section where I encourage you to go a little bit. This isn't a kind of a secret area if you're vying for some of those slots. This is going to be where you are able to kind of put your stamp on the course right through here. But you need to be doing it in control. Afterwards, the reason for the in control statement right here, afterwards, this section of road, this is going to be where the max elevation comes. And if we do re-highlight over here, you can see the average elevation gain or average gradient is 5.2%. And again, that kicks off very early, very, very early, and that just remains consistent pretty much all the way up. There are going to be other areas where it pitches up and then comes back down. If you've never ridden something like that, you're going to want to ride the pitches according to you, right? If you're a little bit lighter rider, take the opportunity on those steeper sections to just get up a little bit easier, a little bit faster. If you're a little bit of a heavier rider, you're going to kind of eat it on those steeper pitches, and then when it cools down a little bit, that's going to be your opportunity to find your rhythm again, Jan Ulrich style. All right, and then that's section number 2 done and dusted. Switching back to our little thing here. Couple of areas that are going to be high. Obviously, you know that one, but you know you're steadily increasing as you get through this section if you're doing it right. And if you're just simply maintaining because you can't do anything else at this point, that is okay. What you want to avoid is the drops of power production through this section here. And you want to be able to put the power down during this section just so you don't get dropped. This is where this athlete is going to be putting out their power out here. And that is about, I mean, it's 166 watts for them, right? If you have higher FTP, of course, that's going to be higher for you. But say 166 is this person's area. What you don't want to do is have a 200 target out there, 200 put out for this hill. You're going to burn a lot of matches here. It's not just going to be one, it's going to be multiple, and you're going to pay the price later on, more importantly in this section here. I highlighted it before, I believe. Off the top of my head, it was like something like 750 feet of elevation gain. If we switch back over here, you can see that once we do finish there, or ride the downhill a little bit, section back into town, 730 feet of elevation gain for this 14-mile distance. Average gradient, we do have a net loss out here, but you're still going to have areas where you are going to have 5.3% max grade out here. So again, your work is not done, and most athletes forget it. And when they arrive here, when they arrive at mile 42 and a half, they say, okay, like I'm cruising in for the rest of the race. Speed's going to be high. It's going to be great. And that's definitely not the case out here. This section, notorious race killers out here. So you want to arrive at this section ready to do your work, not at here, right? You want to get up this hill at a good clip. You want to be putting power out, of course, obviously, naturally, right? But what you want to really be doing is you want to get down the backside here ready to work. You got 14 miles left. It's not like you only have 2 miles left to transition. So you have a lot of opportunity to do work. And if you don't, right, if you just completely off the gas, you're going to open yourselves up to a lot of people catching you. If you've overdone the bike up until this point, totally different story. Yes, come off the gas here and really kind of recover, get your fuel in, get everything back and get back to the good, get ready to run because you're going to need it. But this is a huge opportunity for athletes, and most of them do not take it. Again, looking at the power production, you can see that it's pretty steady out here, and you're going to have a couple of areas where you are skying the power a little bit. Again, it's all going to be controlled out here. This athlete's not going to go totally crazy. I believe their FTP is located somewhere and right there, so we're pretty right around. Maybe no, this athlete is about 170, so they are going to be exploring some of their FTP potentials out here, and they're going to it, but they're not really going over it. And when they do, they're not sitting out there for very long. All right. So if we talk about, we already talked about weather. We want to talk about our time analysis here, how we can save some more extra time on the course. Saving a little bit of drag, that's going to net you 30 seconds. That is a bigger time bonus on this course than on most other ones. Increasing the power out here just simply by 1%, you're saving yourself 70 seconds, which is a ton. Wait, we drop it down 1%, we're saving ourselves 40 seconds. Again, another huge savings out here. And again, this is only 70.3. If we increase or improve our rolling resistance, we're saving 9 seconds. Pretty standard stuff out here at this point. So if it was me on this course, what I would be focusing on is increasing the power slightly, dropping the weight a little bit, right? A tiny, tiny bit. If you can improve your drag, then go for it. I mean, again, this athlete's already going to save about 3 minutes and 30 seconds over the course of this race by some of these improvements. We have a ton of time left to do all of these things, and nothing is you know, out of the realm of possibility out here. So that's what I would be doing leading up to the race here. Zones that you're going to be in on race day. This is a little all over the place just because of the nature of it. It's East Coast. It's total East Coast. It's Pennsylvania. It's awesome. You're going to be in zone 3 for the majority of it, as is customary, but you're going to have a lot of Z4 time. That's purely down to the elevation. That's purely down to the ups and the downs mixed in here. You're going to have some zone 2 time. You're going to have zone 1 time, and that, if you look, you're going to have periods where it's very, very low. That's down to the downhills over here. They're using this as opportunity to recover. If you push those a little bit more, then you're going to be saving a little bit more. This athlete is targeted to go, and I can get rid of elevation here to clean it up. This athlete is targeted to go 40 miles an hour during this section here. So if you really, really push it, how much more are you going to get out of that? You know, if anyone's raced downhill, they'll, you know, pros and cons, how much is too much. And that's our bike, believe it or not. So again, keep an eye out for those water stations, the mortal hydration stations. Something new that they've just done is they've made they have 3 summit points out here. I don't know if they're going to be doing anything on race day. I hope that they label it. I hope that they have like little celebrations or crazy people out there cheering you on. But I can't tell you for certain if they are. I know that they just did the 3 names of the summits, but that's our bike. Believe it or not, done and dusted. Don't. It's a tough day. It's a tough day. Speaking of tough days, this is our run course this year. This is an updated run course. This is the one that they just released on their Facebook page. If it changes, it's going to be. It is what it is. This is the course in reverse this year. Last year we did a little extra section over here and we ran this way. This year it is reverse. So coming out of the transition, you're going to kick out over here. You're going to go on commuter drive, hit an aid station right away. And then you're going to run through the stadium and then back out. So you're going to get some awesome, awesome photos right away, which is it's going to be great. You're going to run through the stadium 2 times as well, right? You hit this on the first loop right away. And then when you get out, you're going to hit another aid station right before mile 1. So there is no real excuse to not fuel, at least in the first mile out here, properly. This is a great opportunity for you to check in with yourselves and see what happened on the bike or what did not happen on the bike. A course where a lot of athletes really miss the fueling, and they don't hit the targets that they need and they pay the price for it on the run. If you compound that with the run elevation out here, about 560 feet of elevation, it's a challenging run. It's a really, really challenging run. You're not running 1,200 feet of elevation out here, but the problem is you're never really doing one thing. You're going up, you're going down, you're turning, you're twisting, you're doing an out and back, you're doing a turnaround. There's a tight section that you need to get through. It's hard to pass someone. You're never just focusing on one thing. You got to do all of that while focusing on nutrition, while looking at the elements, while evaluating what happened or didn't happen, right? So this is a busy, busy run course. It's going to be in the heart of campus. It's going to be really, really cool, right? But it's challenging. It is tough out there. Aid stations over there. So we've already hit 2. We're not even out of the first mile yet. We're going to continue on the way down. Number 3, rolling down here. 4, 5, 6. I believe that these are double-sided as well. So when you turn around, this is 7, 8. Hitting over here to aid station 9 and then 10, right? And then we are hitting our turnaround again. So there's a ton of opportunities for you to fuel out here. This is going to be a course where if these are dual-sided aid stations, you're going to have to weigh what you need at each aid station. If it's a really, really hot day, and again, I'm expecting it to be one, hope it's not, but I'm expecting it. If it is a hot day, use those aid stations to your benefit. I've seen tons and tons of videos of people just rolling through aid stations last year, paying the price for it, not really understanding why. So again, check in with yourself out here. You need to be mindful of what is happening or not happening for you. All right. But going back to the kind of the general consensus of the bike, here's what we have. When we roll out here, we have a steady increase for our first 2 miles. Mile 2 to 3 is a downhill. We have a little bit of a kick up, and we have a plateau from 3.5 to 5-ish miles out here. We're going to have a slight downhill as well. So in my mind, this area, this section right here is a perfect opportunity for you to kind of get some time back. No coincidence that's going to be in the last section, the last half of our lap out here. And then, believe it or not, even this section over here, I would really watch out for this section on both loops. That is the stadium out here. It's going to be very easy for you to overdo it. You know, energy's going to be high. You're running on the outside of the turf. It's going to be awesome, or grass, whatever it is. It's going to be a huge vibes in there. It's going to be awesome. But with those comes big responsibilities. All right, do not overdo it in the stadium. Please, please, please. I mean, even still, like on the second loop, you're at mile 7. It's not like you're at mile 12 and a half and you're almost there, right? You're at mile 7. So I would just keep cruising over here and enjoy it. I wouldn't really sprint through it and put your stamp on it. I would just enjoy that section over there. Big key sections out on course are going to be the hills coming out of my words would work. Coming out of the stadium out here, that is this stretch of road right through here. Another huge key section on each loop. Oh, this section and this section. How do you run it? Well, you got to pace it well, and you got to mind the ups and the downhills. A course where a lot of athletes cramp, and that's purely because that their running form is going and their fueling is going, and everything is messed up from the bike, or they have incorrect pacing and nutrition out here. Often that's going to come right here, or where the terrain switches again right here. And that happens on both loops for sure, for sure, for sure. Last real spot that athletes are going to cramp is on this section out here, and then it just repeats itself on each loop. So, how would you appropriately attack this course? Well, if it was me during this first section of road out here, I would just cruise during this section out here. After that, what I would do is if I'm running with power, I would slowly increase to my race specific watts out here. And if I'm not feeling great, I would kind of throttle those back out here. If I'm running by pace during this section out here, I would increase the effort level, but I wouldn't totally chase my race pace yet. All right. I would slowly try and get to there, but realize when you're running up a hill, you're not going to be running your race pace, and if you are, in actuality, you're going to be going way faster effort-wise when you go down the hill on the backside from mile 2 to 3. So I would see how I'm feeling leading up to this, and if alarm bells are starting to go off, I'm starting to get like borderline cramps or things like that, then I would see where I'm at and drop it just a little bit and start fixing the problems. The ups and the downs out here. I'm going to highlight this section because it's a great little thing, and hopefully I can get it to zoom in. Here we go. The ups and the downs out here, right? You have to run them. You have to respect them. You can't just totally crush through them. It's not a typical run. It's up, it's down. The campus is there. It's busy. You're rocking and rolling all over the place. You're running under buildings. It's crazy. It's awesome. But you need to be mindful of what you're doing on course. If you forget, right, it's going to come back to bite you, especially on the second loop. When you're running downhill, right, let the hill take you. But if you look at some of these downhills, right, some of these downhills are no big deal at all. Other ones are pretty steep for a downhill, right? Um, Same thing on the uphills. So use those downhills to kind of get up a little bit of the uphills, right? But you don't want to be totally crushing these downhills either. Just be careful. Watch your run form, and when you're running down them, make sure your foot's not sliding out in front of you. Make sure you're not heel striking. Make sure your running form is not totally different when you're going down. Everyone forgets the down, and usually when they're going up, cramps happen. Very, very commonplace. I'm not saying you can't ever cramp on a downhill, but most of the times it happens when you switch from up to down or down to up. And that switch, right, you switch your running form, you extend your leg a little bit more, that hip flexor goes, boom, pop. Be careful out here. Watch your nutrition. That is the biggest thing on race day out here. If you nail your nutrition, you're going to have an awesome run. It's going to be great, right? But if your nutrition is not there, you're going to really pay for it. If you're nailing your nutrition and you're absolutely flying out there, check in with yourself. Say, wow, what's going on with me? Am I having a great day? Am I fueling properly? And if all the answers are yes, like, go for it. Because this is a race there. This is the course that you can definitely motor by. It's only 560 feet of elevation, so it's, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Um, and that's their 70.3 Happy Valley race. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, on the second loop here, um, I didn't mention it, but as you progress through here, you do not run through the stadium a third time. You just continue on straight to the finish. This is at least what's been updated on their Facebook site. If you look on their official site, if I can get to it, the run course isn't officially posted yet as of 4/18 here, but this is typically where you're at. Again, I would expect a really hot year this year. I wouldn't expect it to be cold. If it is, good, awesome. I'll be really pumped for everyone that's racing. But again, you bring your heat strategies, and if you don't need them, you don't need them. Bring your heat strategies, bring your nutrition, bring your pacing, and have a blast out here. Really popular race course out here. It's one of the more challenging ones on the circuit. I really personally love this race. If you need any help, individual coaching or race plans or individual plan for you leading up to the day, don't be afraid to reach out. Contact info is down below. Good luck everyone on the 2025 73 Happy Valley.